Another thing that challenges communication is because we don't want to appear needy. We don't want to appear like we really need that person. You don't want to go to your boss's office because you look like you're kissing his ass, asking for a pay rise. But you deserve it. You don't want to appear like you really need that person, or like they really are that important to you, or like they're really hurting you. Yeah, but you have needs and you have desires, and you come out here stressing your girlfriends and stressing everybody. You know that man, he does this to me, even the other day, but he doesn't even know those things. You're out here stressing your friends left, right, and center, but you don't want to talk to him about it. Number one, because you're just a little control freak down here. You want to control what he will say and what he will think about you, and you even want to control his response on your end. Hey good people, how are you doing? Today we're talking about what looks like a basic thing, but it's not basic. Communication in different relationships. It could be a relationship with your employer, it could be a relationship with your boyfriend, with your significant other, with your friends, or with just anybody who's in your life. Communication can be a challenge. It can be very challenging to communicate to a lot of people and to a lot of us. And for you to even have a successful relationship or a relationship that is thriving, it's important for you to be able to communicate your needs, to be able to have some of these hard conversations that we've not been able to have before. Yeah, so that's the topic today. My name is Muthoni, Mukiri. I am a mindset coach and a personal development coach. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm all about emotional and mental wellness. I am a practicing coach and I work with women. So if you want to hop on my packages or on a session, I always leave my contacts down below. So let's talk about communication. Yeah, communication can be a challenge, by the way, not just to you who seated there watching this, even to me, even to other people. Yeah, because a lot of us are not brought up in an environment where people can listen to you, or where we were heard, or where we had a platform to air our issues and to talk about different things. A lot of us didn't know how to communicate, especially from our upbringing. And then now you grow up and you have to talk to your boss, you have to talk to your whoever, your boyfriend, you have to talk to your roommate, and you find it so challenging to ask for what you want or to communicate your desires because that is an unfamiliar territory to you. But for these relationships to thrive and to make it and to be successful and to be healthy, we have to communicate. So there are things that make communication hard. There are things that can be challenged to communication. And the first one is because we are walking around out here like control freaks. We want to control everything. So if you want to communicate something to your boss, to your boyfriend, to someone, but then your first thought is what they're going to think about you, or what they're going to say, or how they're going to react. But let me tell you, you have absolutely no control over that. You can try pleasing people left, right, and center in the whole world, but you have no control what their perception of you will be. You can never control that. The only person you can control is yourself. So we are walking around, we want to control everything. We want to control the weather. We want to just control things that are even beyond our control. That is the first challenge of communication. We know what we need, we know what our desires are, but then we focus so much on what the other person will say or what they will think. And that is a challenge if you want to be an effective communicator. You cannot think like that. You cannot try controlling the other person on your end. It will never be possible. You'll just get frustrated. Another thing that challenges communication is because we don't want to appear needy. We don't want to appear like we really need that person. You don't want to go to your boss's office because you look like you're kissing his ass, asking for a pay rise. But you deserve it. You don't want to appear like you really need that person, or like they really are that important to you, or like they're really hurting you. Yeah, but you have needs and you have desires, and you come out here stressing your girlfriends and stressing everybody. You know that man, he does this to me, even the other day, but he doesn't even know those things. You're out here stressing your friends left, right, and center, but you don't want to talk to him about it. Number one, because you're just a little control freak down here. You want to control what he will say and what he will think about you, and you even want to control his response on your end. And you also don't want to appear needy. You don't want to appear like you really need him like that, or you want to appear cool. You don't want to look like those women who keep asking for things, or who keep telling them what their men what they want. But it's affecting you because you are out here telling us you're in my DM complaining about him. You're in my inbox, you're sending me an email about that person, but they don't even know. We have not even told them. Another thing you need to know, no one is self-sufficient. Like, you cannot employ yourself and give yourself a pay rise if you're employed. This is not for self-employed people. If you're employed, you have to be able to have that discussion with whoever is employing you, whoever is your senior, whoever you work for. You have to work towards having effective communication. I'm going to talk about ways and things that can help your communication down the line, and things you need to put in your mind. The first thing, you communicate to say your need, to say your desire, and to pass a message. You don't communicate to try to control the other person's response. You don't communicate to a robot. You're not communicating to someone who's statue there waiting to grant you everything. You're communicating to stand in your truth, to say what you need, to say what you want, to say what's going to work for you, or to ask what you need. Yeah? You communicate to pass a message, to solve a problem. That's what you communicate to do. So how the other person will respond, how the other person will perceive you, that is not your business. That is none of your control. And we lose it when we start focusing so much on the other person. However, it's not their need that's being met in most times. It's your need that needs to be met. Am I making sense? So that's the first thing. The second thing, don't be carried away by sideshows. You know you want to go to your boss's office and ask for a pay rise. And then when you're telling him, I've worked in this company for 5 years, I have increased the sales, blah, blah, blah. I have done this and this. I have trained this and these people. Then you're just telling your boss how much you need a raise and how much you deserve a raise. Yeah, you've worked for it. And then in the conversation when you go and he tells you, you're asking for a raise and you came late on Monday. So instead of getting carried away by the Monday story, you can tell them, yes, I came late, but I had an apology, or there was a situation which I already communicated about. And besides that, it doesn't change the fact that my numbers speak for themselves. Yeah? So don't get carried away by the sideshows, or you're going to communicate to your boyfriend or someone significant or someone you really care about. And then when you start telling them, I don't like how you always dismiss me, or I don't like how every time we're supposed to meet, you always come 2 hours late. And then they start telling you, but even last year, that time during Valentine's, I waited for you for 2 hours. Don't get carried away by that. You continue with the communication, and you tell them, yes, and there was an explanation and I told you about that. However, in your end, it's every time you come late. You know, if it's once in a while, or twice, it's okay. But you can't come late. You get my point. Don't get carried away. When they start doing the sideshows, you stick to the communication or to the message. Another thing is to think about what you want to say before you say it. This is so important, by the way, to have the conversation in your head. I know some people will say, don't do that because it's important. Think about why you want to communicate. What's the goal of that communication? What you're looking to achieve? Are you looking at solving a problem? Are you looking at let that person or that company go? What is the goal of communication? So that when you go there and this person starts the sideshows and starts taking you sideways, you stick to the goal and the purpose of that communication. Yeah? Another thing is to communicate to people how you want them to communicate to you. So you cannot go to your boss's office and start screaming there, and then when he tells you something, you start crying. And then you start saying he treated you badly, he said finish crying fast, he didn't take you seriously. Probably, it's not even that he didn't take you seriously, you probably didn't take yourself seriously. So communicate how you want people to communicate to you, to communicate with respect, with maturity, and with a goal in mind. Don't go wasting people's time and then say they were not listening and you were there. They gave you a whole 2 hours and you are not able to communicate. So communicate the way you want. If, for example, us as women, please get your emotions in check. And when I spoke about self-awareness in a video I spoke about, I said there are times as women where we are more emotional than other times in our menstrual cycle, in our, not menstrual, in our, it's called PMS, in our cycle, maybe between the first day to the last day of the month. There's a time there, maybe when you're ovulating, when you're in your period, after your period, there's a time there where when we are too emotional or we are too moody or we are too all those things. So study yourself and know when you are at your best. Yeah? Don't go having conversations and you start crying and screaming and blackmailing people and using manipulation and using tears and then say they did not take you seriously or say they have not even blah blah responded or whatever. Have a mature conversation and respect yourself. If you want to cry, we cry, by the way. Go to the toilet there, cry once you're done, finish, walk out, go to that office and ask for what you need and what you deserve. Don't take your tears there and don't take your emotions there, because when you start crying, it stops becoming about really what you're saying. It starts becoming, it now goes to your crying, it now goes to your emotions. It's kind of a sideshow, another sideshow that I'm talking about. So another thing is to communicate. Starting this, I said this in the last video, starting with I. For example, you want to solve an issue between you and your partner. Instead of accusing them, you always come and leave the socks there. You always never put the towel where it's supposed to. You always never take the plate to the kitchen. You always... How about you start with I? You know, I feel frustrated because you leave your socks everywhere and you never take your plate in the kitchen. That person doesn't feel attacked when you start with how you're feeling. Because of their behavior. It's not compared to you always. That person feels attacked. It feels like you have a vendetta against them. Yeah? So communicate with I feel. Or it makes me feel neglected every time you pick your friends over me. Or it makes me feel some type of way every time I come to visit you and you are not willing to spend time with me. Or something like that. So you don't have to start with you never spent time, you never, yeah. Another thing my husband taught me is, if you want to communicate, a good way to solve a problem is to say what you want instead of asking for explanations. You know, we are like, a lot of us women were like, nambana unipigiangi simu. Just tell them, babe, I really like it when you call me. So once in a while, just drop a call, It's more goal-oriented. You said what you wanted of Suri. There is no open space for a lot of unnecessary discussion and back and forth. He told me, if you want something, it's easier when you just tell me instead of asking me. And then he said, sometimes people don't even have explanations why they do some things they do. So instead of asking him, mbona unachanga socks ila mahali? Mbona? Just tell him, when you get into the house, usiache socks hapo, just take them to the laundry or take them to the washing machine or take them wherever you want him to take the socks. Instead of asking, tell them. Say what you want, yeah? Because asking also can have a lot of unnecessary conversations and back and forth. And maybe that person feels like, oh, now I have to start explaining myself to this person. Just tell them what you want. So another thing is don't assume. This will be my next video. Expectations versus reality, where we lose it between the two. So don't assume, ask, say, stand in your truth. Your job is to represent yourself, my sister. So if you don't represent yourself in that relationship, if you don't stand in your truth, if you do not ask for what you want, who is going to ask for it? Who's going to represent you on your behalf? You're your own lawyer. So don't assume people can read your mind. Don't assume they've seen the work I've done here. I've worked here for 10 years. They should know. Walk into that office and ask for your right and for what you deserve and for that pay rise. Yeah? Don't just assume people are just thinking about you. I said, let's not elevate our importance in other people's lives. People have also things to think about. It's your job to think about yourself and to also ask for what you want for yourself. It's nobody else's job. Yeah? You have an important task to yourself. Your first responsibility, we said, your first responsibility is towards yourself. Do you know why? because you're the most important person in your life. So why do you think you're also number one in other people's lives? You're not. You have to go and ask for what you want. Another thing is when you ask for something, it's also important to give people time. When you tell that person akikuja asiwache socks kwa mlango, don't sit there like a policeman waiting awache hivi your socks the following day. Give them time. Guide them and give them time. Give people time to make amends if it's something. Give them, I'm not saying give them chances, 10 chances, give them time. Time and chances is something different, yeah? Give them time to see if they will make amends, if they heard you, if they are willing to do whatever it is you wanted them to. Another thing about communication, sometimes we don't always get what you want. Sometimes you will go to ask for that raise and it's not possible and they're not willing to give it to you. Sometimes you'll want to talk to someone to change their behavior and probably they will not. It doesn't mean because you've spoken or asked for it, it has to happen the way you want. But you have to make a decision ultimately, whether you want to still participate with their inaction, yeah? Whether you still want to stick around when probably you're being taken for granted, or you also have to ask yourself if the person you communicated to takes you seriously or really wants you in their life. You know, you also have to ask yourself those questions. It doesn't mean because you ask for something, that person will give it to you, but you have done your part. You have represented yourself. You have made yourself proud. Yeah? I really wanted to put that out here. And another thing, when it comes to communication, when you start communicating and then it gets to a point where you feel like at this point I will say things that I will never be able to take back, you can walk away from the conversation and have that discussion when you're both calm and collected, when you're both relaxed. Yeah? Yes, so I think I want to end it here. I don't know if I've covered everything. I've tried as much as I can, and I didn't want this video to be long. I just want to remind you, if you don't talk about your needs, nobody will talk about them on your behalf, and you will never control how they will see you, how they will behave. Ask for what they want. If they don't give it to you, if they take you for granted, if they tell you mean things when you're communicating in a mature, responsible way, you also have a decision to make, to ask yourself, is this person serious with me? Are they taking me seriously? Yeah? What action can I take? And if you don't communicate, you will never know. We say if you don't ask for something, the answer will always be no. Because you'll never get it if you don't ask. But when you ask, you could get it. If you don't get it, maybe you have a choice to make, or you can plan to ask for it another time, or to send an email, or to use other means. Yeah? Anyway, I wish you all the best. Thank you so much for watching. Keep booking your tickets. I will remind you this whole month until we are completely sold out for my upcoming Muthoni's mission. Self-awareness women's workshop. I can't wait to do this workshop with you. It's what I do here, helping you learn to be more self-aware, how to examples and coping mechanisms of everyday struggles and challenges, how to stand in your truth, how to be the woman you want to be, how to set constructive goals and achieve them. It's going to be a wonderful day. So I'll leave the poster here. Please make your bookings, make your inquiries. I don't want you to miss this important workshop. So bye guys, see you around.